This is a land of extremes, populated only by those possessed with a hard pioneering spirit. Its rugged natural beauty is mostly untouched, except by the spirit of the wind, the mountains, and the trees. Alaska's natural riches gave rise to a diversity of cultures. First, the Tlingit Indians came and built totem poles. Then the Eskimos walked from Siberia and lived in igloos. Later, the Russians came for fur, and the Americans came for gold and oil. This is Alaska, the Great Land, or the land where the great waves break their back upon the rocks, as the Aleut natives call it.
This is Alaska, the Blue Land, as I call it. Out of the blue, while looking at the U.S. map one day, Eric asked, "I wonder if there's a road from the Bay Area to Alaska." And there is.
Vilma, how would you like to go to the North Pole?
Sounds exciting. Let's go.
There are 3 legs of our journey. Number 1, around Anchorage. Number 2, 500 miles from Fairbanks to the top of the world, following the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. And number 3, the Panhandle, to see the Tlingit settlements in Juneau and Sitka.
In the spirit of the frontier man and frontier woman, we start the first leg of our pioneering exploration with Vanity, our blue van. Vanity is our bedroom suite, library, dining hall, and photography studio, as well as our vanity.
Here's our first campsite. There's no one else to share it with. We sleep through the darkless night in scenic calm.
The next day, we check the town Seward, up and down. Here's a Bible class of kids among the 2,800 residents. The port of Seward was most important in World War II due to its strategic position in the Pacific Ocean and because it has a railroad.
The town was named after William Seward, the Secretary of State who was ridiculed for the purchase of Alaska in 1867 for $7.2 million, or 2 cents an acre. Alaska was to bring wealth untold in the years to follow.
Resurrection Bay has a colony of stellar sea lions with light red fur. This 9-foot, 1,500-pound male guards his harem of several females. Swimming backstroke is a sea otter and her pup. They have a prodigious appetite for abalone, clams, and mussels. They can detect dangerous toxins in shellfish.
We drive through the Kenai Peninsula. The Castleoff River is popular with salmon. The Deep Creek, on the other hand, jumps with halibut. Everywhere is a reminder that this is a fisherman's paradise. Approaching Soldotna, the base for exploring the wildlife refuge. What do we see? We see our first moose. Its 2 calves, weighing 35 pounds at birth in June, will weigh 300 pounds by autumn. Beware, there are more deaths from moose than from bear maulings.
We journey into Homer. Anchorage weekenders pitch their tents in the sandbar called Homer's Spit. Here, they party and charter fishing boats. Homer is the halibut capital of the world. Here's the catch of the day. These women in yellow waterproof coats are ready to cut up this 100-pound fish. One side of the halibut is white, the other is black. Between sprinkles and short heavy rains, the sun comes out. The town overlooks alpine peaks, glaciers, and steep fjords.
Vilma drops to her knees to photograph spring flowers with a backdrop of snow-capped mountains.
While Eric gets a vantage point to videotape dead trees in a swamp. But why? This is our third day in Alaska, but we haven't spent the night yet. It doesn't get dark here in Anchorage. It's a very strange experience. On the east, the sun casts an eerie light like a horizontal spotlight on the top of trees. By Nancy Lake at Willow, we wake up in our cozy nook surrounded by trees on four sides. Eric prepares to tackle the longest day of our trip.
Vilma prepares to face her pioneer tasks of the day. Not unglamorously, I'd say. Whatever happened to the one-room igloo and the dog sleds that the pioneers use? Now we see this multi-story white igloo hotel and a blue helicopter.
We join a 6-hour bus tour to Denali Park. At lower elevation, we see the moist tundra, which is spongy and makes walking very difficult and tiring. Here, we spot a brown grizzly with 2 cubs. At higher elevation is the dry tundra, a firmer mosaic of plants and easier to walk on. Here, we see Dall sheep in the ridges. This is the mineral-rich Polychrome Hills. Alaska is a vast producer of copper and iron, which the Tlingits once preferred over gold, which was heavy. These are some of the blue flowers that color the mountain slopes in the spring.
We get a bonus view of a white grizzly bear. These inland bears feed on berries and roots of spruce. A mile from the park is a small cluster of restaurants, lodges, and stores for provisions, built with a blue roof. Even the outhouse has a blue roof. And there's the blue train of Alaska to Fairbanks. Then we start the second leg of our journey to the North Pole. Of the 500 miles from Fairbanks to the Arctic Ocean, 460 of it is gravel road. It has only 3 gas stations. With reservations, we enter this forbidding territory. At midnight, the sign reads, "Next gas 130 miles," and the gravel road begins. We reach the town of Living Good. It has one house that appears uninhabited. If this is what they call living good, maybe we should turn around.
But the spirit of the sun beckons us northward. As we drive deeper into the night, it gets lighter and lighter. It's because we're closer to the sun. We reach the Yukon River gas station at 3 a.m. So ends the longest day of our trip. After 4 hours of sleep, we get a hearty breakfast, a hot shower, and another fill of our vanity. The construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline started in 1973, 800 miles from Prudhoe Bay, going south to Valdez. In the chem lab where I worked, I analyzed this gas that reached the Bay Area. You can see that the pipeline parallels the road, providing a constant signpost that we are on the right track. The zigzag pattern allows for contraction or expansion due to temperature variation.
We cross the Arctic Circle. It's time to celebrate with blue champagne. We sign our names behind this board like tourists. But unlike most tourists, we don't stop here. We're not even halfway to Prudhoe Bay. Spring in the Arctic brings a dramatic rebirth. As the pole points towards the sun, the returning daylight brings an explosion of life. Ponds and lakes appear, as blue as the sky. There is rich food for ducks and birds among the tundra. Grizzlies and cubs awaken. At Coldfoot, we buy enough gas, we hope, till the next gas station 244 miles away. The terrain changes, the vegetation disappears, and the Arctic tundra begins. There's a large snow mountain called Brooks Range with the ever-present pipeline standing 6 feet above the ground, 4 feet wide and 4 inches of insulation.
How about some ice for my cooler? Like the pioneers did of old, Eric chisels out a big chunk of ice for our butter, cheese, and drinks. With provisions in the car, Eric can drive without stopping. All he needs to do is ask for coffee.
And Vilma would say, "One coffee coming up." Through the long drive, Vilma sits back in comfort, observing and absorbing it all while being chauffeured to various destinations.
The sun is so intense that I can read a book at midnight. To help us sleep, I put a curtain around the car. Do you see what I see? Reindeer crossing our way. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Vixen. Yes, we are in the town of North Pole, Alaska. Here's the North Pole Laundromat, the North Pole Food Factory, and the North Pole Coffee Shop.
And yes, it's a legitimate town because it has a post office. Here's Vilma mailing a postcard to Dreamer, our dear cat. There's the Moose Lodge, the Santa Claus Lane. Everyone is asleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, except for Santa.
At last, we're on top of the world at Prudhoe Bay. Some 3,500 people lived in this desolate town. They worked with a good pay for the pipeline, 12 hours a day for 14 days, then they get the next 14 days off. In 1968, the biggest oil strike was discovered on this Arctic slope. Here's the flow station where oil, water, and gas are separated. Down at Valdez, the first tanker carried the first shipment of oil worth $7.2 million, the very same price U.S. paid Russia for all of Alaska in 1867.
We are here at the Arctic Ocean. Here's Vilma turning blue like a cold, shivering papoose.
But Eric braves the element like a true frontierman.
The return trip is now a breeze. To divert us is a young grizzly, so cute like a teddy bear, looking for a diversion too. We drive on. Suddenly, well, what have we got here? A moose, just what we're looking for. The moose usually takes cover behind the spruce while eating the willows.
Vanity, our blue van, collects dust and turns to dusty white. Then she gets a splinter and a flat tire. Oh dear, this is not a place to get stalled, but people are more giving in this forbidding land. The local who helped build this road and a camper lent hands and tools. Eric, under the car, reassures Vanity she'll be all right.
While Vilma takes a hike with her camera.
We're lucky to arrive at Cold Foot with warm feet. We get a new tire at an exorbitant price of $350 at the garage and a t-shirt at this souvenir shop.
At 10 p.m. we arrive at the concrete road. We made it to the top of the world. Let's shake hands. This black road is the gravel.
While that white one over there is concrete. Eric drove the Arctic route and back in 2 days instead of the estimated 4. Let's have a toast of victory with blue champagne. Hooray! We start the third and last leg of our journey into the Panhandle from Fairbanks to Haines, a 16-hour drive. As we drive from one little town into another, the scenery does not disappear. Snow-capped mountains are all around us, and deep blue lakes abound. The grounds are a blue with forget-me-nots. This is the state flower of Alaska.
We cross the Canadian border into the Yukon Territory. A century ago, the biggest gold strike happened in the Klondike. Thousands of stampeders labored through the notorious Chilkoot Pass at a chilling 60 degrees below. They extracted $300 million in Klondike gold.
Here's a pioneer panning his luck with a frying pan, but I think he came a little too late.
Forget the gold, here's a precious find. Deep in the Yukon Territory, a white grizzly bear shows up our way. A bigger surprise is this grand moose by the road, the biggest we've ever seen. It is a young male, with its antlers not fully yet developed. Beware! That look says, I'm bigger than you are.
We reach Haines early in the morning. Haines is known for its eagle preserve. It has the largest population of bald eagles, numbering 3,500.
Here our land journey through the Alcan Highway ends. Our voyage on the Alaska Marine Highway begins. As we enter the string of the ferry system, Vanity is overjoyed to get a lift. We land in Juneau at 5 p.m., with still 5 hours of sightseeing left. Immediately, we take a cruise boat to the Mendenhall Glacier, one of the biggest attractions here. Several trails lead to it to enjoy this great natural wonder.
A gold mining boomtown, Juneau remains the capital of Alaska. In 1880, Joe Juneau made a big strike when the Tlingit guides led him to rich gold deposits along the Gastineau Channel. There are more miles of mining tunnels than there are paved roads in Juneau.
Like the other towns in the Panhandle, Juneau can only be reached by boat or by plane, or even by an ultralight. Tourists come daily. We see 2 cruise ships, Sun Princess and Horizon. Failing to find Alaskan king crab, we settle for a salmon bake. Here they smoke the salmon, then grill it with a savory sauce. Delicious.
Now into the blue, we hop to the next island. Sitka was the former capital under Russian rule. The Sitka Museum exhibits some Russian heritage like these hand-painted Russian eggs. This very fine painting was found in the mouths of non-toothed baleen whales.
Among the Tlingit art, here is a ceremonial barge. One end is the image of an eagle, on the other end is the raven. These are the 2 clans. He explains, a man of the Raven clan can only marry a woman of the Eagle clan. All the children are eagle after their mother. The Tlingit lived in Alaska 10,000 years ago and had a permanent village in Sitka. There is a restaurant named She Attica, specializing in seafood, and the Raven Room has a very pleasant ambiance. At the sight of the Dungeness crab, Vilma gets crabby and instantly attacks it with her blue claws.
We search in every harbor for a glimpse of the humongous Alaskan king crab in vain. In the process, we meet interesting couples like these. Or this friendly frontier's man and frontier's woman with the frontier's dog. They just unloaded their salmon catch into their boat freezer. In pioneer days, the natives used a storage loft to keep their food from animals. The Tlingits' lifestyle revolved around natural resources like halibut and salmon. One day, Raven called all the salmons together to choose their rivers. King Salmon said,
I will travel up the long, large rivers to the clear waters where I will spawn.
Coho Salmon said,
I prefer the short, fast, clear waters for my spawning.
Sockeye Salmon was quick to step up and said,
I claim the lakes.
And so, the Tlingit legends survive in the heart of its Tlingit. There's a different legend attached to its totem pole, like this one in Castle Hill. The Tlingits see spirit in the trees. They call the trees lungs of Mother Earth.
On our overnight cruise back to Juneau, we have a surprise stop to Angun. This is a teeny fishing village with communal tribal houses in the Admiralty Island. Mind you, here, giant brown bears outnumber the residents. Near sunset, we stop at Tenakee Springs, known for its hot springs. The gold miners used to soak and come out wrapped in the towel. The people are friendly and don't shy away from the camera. What a colorful array of rustic cabins.
Missing the dinner hour at the ship's restaurant, I talk to the friendly steward. He turns me over to the Filipino chef. Eric and I get a free, generous helping of barbecue ribs to survive the long night aboard. Back to Juneau. Juneau in June is beautiful amid scenery, greenery, and in-betweenery. All around are pines, alpines, and lupines. The setting is compared to the fjords of Norway.
At last, Vilma finds her Alaskan king crab. These are humongous legs. Let's take a look at more glaciers. We reached the Blue Dock in time to board the Sitka for a cruise into the Tracy Arm Glacier. We see many waterfalls from the melting snow. Here the giant falls make this man in a boat look like an ant.
Deep in the blue, we're surrounded by icy blue ghosts of the Tlingit ancestors. By a wooded rock, there's a group of horned puffins. They are clowns. They eat so much fish that they can't fly. On another rock is a couple of horny puffins who just want to be alone. Now the tree line disappears and ice surrounds us. We stop at Tracy Arm Glacier to absorb the blue wonder. This tidewater glacier recedes 85 feet a year. It is blue because it absorbs all the colors except blue. We back off from the glacier, then slowly and very silently, we enter the sea lion's ice palace. These are all mothers and pups, no dads. Deep in the blue, totally immersed in this magical scene of water, snow, and ice, I feel like dancing on ice, touching their ever-changing forms, feeling their rigidness and ruggedness, becoming one with the wild beauty.
In this icy sanctuary, our journey to the great land of the Alyeska comes to an end. This is the land where the Indian spirits of the Tlingit, the Inupiat, and the Aleut linger in the spirit of the waters, of the fishes, and of the wind on the wings of the mighty eagle and crafty raven.
This is a land for any adventurer willing to brave its vast wilderness to enjoy its natural beauty. Like these two frontiers people, Eric and Vilma, forever enchanted with the spirit of Alyeska.